Okay, guys, so I'm just dealing with the usual technical hiccups. This is the first time I've been using this type of streaming in a really long time, and I'm glad to be back here doing my thing. This is a totally new concept. Actually, it kind of harkens back to the stuff that I used to do on YouTube, which is actually teaching people about meditation, about breathing techniques, about energy work, and so on. And the whole time I've been doing that, I've been sort of skirting around two or three paths, trying to figure out exactly where I fit into all of that. One of them has been the sort of Toltec wisdom that has come to light in the past, I don't know, fewer than 100 years, I guess it would be now, maybe 80 years, something like that. And the Mexíca tradition, which very little is really known about, and there are several lineages along those lines that people talk about. One being Carlos Castaneda, who started to sort of introduce that stuff to the world, and then others have come along since then. You might know it from this sort of distilled Toltec light, is what I call it, version, like the Four Agreements and things like that, which is basically just be a good person and live your life. That's not the type of stuff that I'm talking about. It more has to do with reality bending, using sort of magical force or power, and there are different conceptions of that in order to change your reality in a tangible way. And that also has to do a lot with dream work. That's something that we'll get into and that we'll be talking about in later live streams, and that's all great. But for now, what we're going to do is introduce you to some interesting concepts. The other line that I've been following constantly is the Taoist line, esoteric Taoism, which I've been using, different techniques. Just checking my microphone. Different techniques and internal energy circulations. Taoist alchemy is what I've been following and what I've been practicing for a very, very long time, almost 20 years now, honestly. And I finally feel comfortable enough to say that these paths, just these two paths, and there's been a lot of things in between that I've done, are related to each other. You know, I think a lot of us realize at this point that there is not just a progenitor culture that was out there that came before recorded history that we can follow in a spiritual sense and glean certain types of spiritual wisdom from those cultures, but there seem to be many progenitor cultures out there and spread around the world, and so these traditions are more related than you might think. In a very big way, I find that the conceptions, the sort of philosophy surrounding the Mexíca traditions and the Taoist traditions are very much the same. And you can also find parallels in things like Hinduism or yogic philosophy, in which the sort of extant world, the world that we see and that we experience, is an illusion. It's not the sense that it's all fake or anything like that. It is absolutely real, but it's not the real reality. It's not the only half of reality. And the Mexicas and the Toltecs would literally try to bridge the dreaming world with the waking world in order to create the world that they wanted to see in both realities, or really to bridge them and to make them one reality in general. So, the purpose behind this whole thing and what I'm doing now is I'm creating an energetic space for you to step into, and you have to do that with your intention. I'm using images and some good music in the background. Some of the things in later streams might be completely silent. I don't know. Also, please let me know if it's working out. I am getting errors, and so if it's just absolutely horrible and you can't understand what I'm saying or the streaming isn't working, I'll have to fix that later. But I'm just going to go ahead and do what I do, and hopefully most of it will come through. So I'm trying to create a space. I'm creating an energetic space using the talents and energy and force that I have used for a very long time to do that, to hold the space for you. You have to intend to come into it. The basic techniques that we're going to be using for this whole thing, as far as breathing goes, is just to breathe low and slow into the belly. So you want to slow your breathing, you want it to be as slow and full as possible, and you want to breathe as low as possible into the belly, into the whole lower abdominal region. If you want to, you can imagine that you're breathing through, or that air is coming through the navel, just filling up your belly like a balloon. And you sort of want to have that whole feeling, so that you're expanding on all sides, you're expanding towards the back, you're not just, in the front and having a bunch of tension. And then I'm going to be calling this the Power Mudra. This is also somewhat cave-like. It connects all the lines of energy in the body and the aura, all of the energy bodies, so that they come together and sort of create a shield or protection around you. The more that you focus on this, the more that you focus on your center of power, your plexus, your solar plexus, or the entire belly region. You can think of it as being down here, or you can think of it as being this whole area right here. I tend to like to think of it as this whole area. It gives you a much more grounded and centered feeling when you're doing that. And so you're focusing on that area, you're using this mudra in order to do that. I'm just giving you the rundown before we actually get into that stuff. And the whole purpose of this, again, is to put yourself energetically, intentionally into a space that I'm creating while you're doing these exercises. If you were doing this all on your own, then you would have to worry about the things that I'm doing, creating the extra force, the extra push, being in that space of extra energy in order to experience more separation, more detachment from the aspects of yourself that come to the surface while we're doing these types of meditations. But for the most part, all you have to do in these cases is intend to be in that space with me and breathe low and slow and pay attention. Then we're going to be doing some other exercises. We're going to be imagining a golden egg in the center of the belly and that expanding out. And I'm going to blast you with energy during that. You will take it to what is called creating the luminous egg, or the luminous energy field, or the golden egg, and that is a personal protection for you. So as you come into this space, others will be coming into this space too. We tend to think of ourselves as very separate, since we're just sitting behind our computers and our desks in our own personal space, and that's all great. But as we intend to come into a collective space with other people, we can also be affected by their energy. And so I want to make it very clear that I like everybody to do their own personal protection practices and shielding practices before we do this kind of stuff. That is for your own personal energetic and spiritual protection. It is great to do collective work, it is great to do group work, but also there is the danger of sort of trauma dumping on other people and leaving people with little tendrils and fragments of energy that you don't really want to pick up. It is not your responsibility to heal that for them, Then we're going to be doing an exercise called removing the mask. This is something that I learned in the Toltec tradition. And if you're wondering where the Taoist stuff is, a lot of it just comes down to pure basic energetics. And so it's not going to be a lot of, this is a Taoist practice of doing this. It's mostly I'm showing you how to use your hands and to use your concentration to focus your energy in certain places in your body. That's really the Taoist aspect of it. Then we're going to be doing some eye exercises, which is a really fascinating practice from the Toltec tradition. Each direction that you move your eyes as you're staring forward is considered a different aspect of your life, of your spirit. Different things, different fragments of your soul, of your spirit can get lost in certain places. You can have an overabundance of energy in one quadrant over another. And so as you're doing these exercises, you're sort of breathing in while you're staring in one direction, staring straight ahead, but using your peripheral vision to scoop up energy from that side and then push it over here and breathing out. And then you stay on this side and you breathe in and you scoop up energy and you move this direction with your peripheral vision staring to the right and breathe out. And we'll be doing that for each of the 4 directions, all right? Then we're going to be doing the dreamer's gaze, which is opening up and expanding your vision to your peripheral vision as far as possible. So I can't do it because of screen purposes, but if I'm over here, you'll be wiggling your fingers like this in front of you, staring straight ahead, opening up your peripheral vision as far as you can see. Your fingers still go like this. So we're going like this, we're expanding out, expanding out. You still want to be staring straight forward, but you still want to be noticing your peripheral vision. This opens up the entire field. This is a big thing that is lost, I think, in a lot of energy work today, is work with the eyes. You will notice, most people notice and know, the most common experience, of course, is that somebody is looking at you, somebody's staring at you. And to me, it's never been, oh, I think somebody's staring at me. It's just, you just kind of automatically turn and look, and lo and behold, somebody is staring at you. This is because the eyes are both receivers and projectors of energy. All right, so if you're staring at somebody, you're kind of like projecting your own thing onto them, but you're creating a sort of tunnel of energy, you know, and that is a tunnel of exchange of energy, right? And so we tend to sense it, whether we know it or not. We just kind of like look over and then somebody's looking at you. That's one way that the eyes are unconsciously usually used in order to exchange energy. But this whole thing using eye movements and eye exercises and the dreamer's gaze and whatnot is to literally expand your field of awareness. Most of our awareness comes from the eyes. And so as we do that, or you'll notice that some people, you know, tend to look down here and look down there. I was a very kid when I was young, just kind of like staring off into the corner, you know, like what was I looking at? Avoiding certain things and connecting myself with other aspects of my being, of my spirit, you know. So what we want to do in the dreamer's gaze is expand and expand and expand as much as possible, so that all of that energy that is fractured, that is fragmented, that is lost for you, can be reclaimed. And also you're expanding your awareness in general so that you can have more energy within it. And again, you can do these practices on your own. The difference in that and coming into this cave of healing is specifically so that you can have an extra boost. So I'm here to guide you through those processes and these exercises, but I'm also here doing my shaman thing and sending out massive amounts of energy so that you can have a grander experience while doing it. That's why we go to teachers, that's why we go to shamans, that's why we work with masters and all of that. And that's pretty much it. So I just want to go ahead and get started. I do hope that the sound and the music that I have playing is coming through. I have no idea if it is because I'm new to this software, but I'm going to share some images and then we're going to get into the beginning of this practice. So at the very beginning, you just want to start breathing low and slow into your belly region. Just take a few minutes to do that. I'm sending energy through these images as I'm displaying them to you. So if you want to use them as a focus, that's fine. But you'll also want to try to sit far away enough from your computer that you can still expand your vision. Just have it in front of you. You don't want to focus down too much, otherwise you sort of cut that off. So just breathe low and slow. Imagine yourself just very lightly stepping into this cave. This image is supposed to be you. It's a personal healing cave where you can let go of everything. And in a grander sense, when we start to relax and we start to let everything go in this energetic space, this is when we do the Taoist practice of sitting and forgetting. So you're stepping into this space, you're taking a seat, and you're sitting and forgetting. The real purpose behind that practice is not to cling. We have an aspect of our mind that clings to things and won't let go and analyzes and picks apart. And we have an aspect of our consciousness that just allows things to happen. You can think of it as the sort of old left and right brain hypothesis, which we know is kind of bunk at this point, but it's still a good sort of metaphor. You have these two aspects of your consciousness that are constantly working. One is yang, which is that which clings, and one is yin, which is that which just experiences and lets go. But you want to encourage that part that just lets go. So all feelings, all thoughts, all images, you don't even worry about them. You just let them sink down into the cave. For this part of the exercises, you can also have your eyes closed after you've done this for a little bit, breathing low and slow. Just let everything passing through. Then you're going to want to move to the power mudra, which again is just this, all the fingers together. You're going to hold that sort of in front of your solar plexus. Just be comfortable with it. And again, try to expand your vision out as far as possible. So even if there's a wall in front of you, you want to focus as though you're looking out towards the horizon as far as possible and as wide as possible. So you don't want a lot of tension or whatever, but you do want to be as open and wide as possible. So, power mudra. And as you're doing this, you're pulling in the energy that I'm sending into this cave space. So sit with those for a little while. Let your energy build in your belly. Our true nature is non-local and very expansive, and most of us sort of pigeonhole ourselves. We think that our consciousness is just in the mind, or it's just in the body, just in the brain, but it's really everywhere. Allow yourself to expand. Allow your vision to expand to your periphery and to gaze forward towards the horizon, even if you can't see it. And as you do that, allow your breathing to expand with that. So I also forgot to mention, at least for the initial exercises, it's best to breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. So you're taking in energy into the belly, breathing in through the nose, and then releasing that energy back into the cave, everything that moves through you, out through the mouth. I'm using these images as a sort of point of focus for myself, so that when you gaze at them, you should be reminded, I am in this space with Sadhaka. I am sucking up this energy, and this is a good thing. Nobody else has seen these images before. They're all AI generated, so they're fresh. Keep your eyes open. Expand to the periphery, expand to the horizon. Breathe in slow and full. Now, as you're holding the power mudra, you can close your eyes for this part. Center your attention on the solar plexus, and you just imagine a ball of golden light, like a planet or a soft star or an egg. Just imagine that for a little while. As you breathe in, it gets brighter and more pure and refined. Very, very slow, very deep. You don't have to visualize anything when you're doing this. Another practice that I'll constantly refer to is just one of my own phrases, which is just smile and know it. There's this whole conception that we need to visualize things, visualize. Most people are terrible visualizers. I'm a terrible visualizer. The point is not to see something in your mind's eye. The point of visualization is to convince your brain that it exists. And so if you can do that, if you can just slightly smile and go, I know that that's there. I know that there is this egg of golden energy expanding and expanding and expanding in my belly. Then that's enough. So just smile and know it. Hold that power mudra. Breathe energy from the cave that you've entered with me into your belly, into the golden egg, and begin to expand that egg slowly out so that it encompasses your entire torso at first. Then it gets lower and higher and more expansive until it's expanding around your entire body. So it should reach about 8 to 12 inches below your feet and 8 to 12 inches above your head, above the tip of your head, that you're shielded in this golden light. This is your personal protection space. This is also the beginning work of creating the luminous energy field, which is a sort of highest spiritual shield or field of protection that really takes work to get to. It's like chakras. You don't necessarily have all of them perfectly aligned as soon as you're born. You have to work to make them right. I'm continuing to send you energy to this exercise. I'll continue expanding the egg outward and outward and outward. Don't go too far. Just go 8 to 12 inches above the head, and then see it continue to grow in strength and intensity. As you get to this level, and it's just about expanded out as far as we want it, you see it gaining intensity and refinement, golden sheen. Then you'll want to apart your hands. Like this, and move them slowly down to the sides of your body, pointing towards the floor. Open the eyes, and again, expand as wide as possible. Imagine, if you would, that you can see in all directions. And just sit with this luminous egg, this golden egg, the luminous energy field, and build it and build it and build it. Every once in a while, you can remind yourself that you're in this space with me, so that when you breathe, you're breathing in the extra energy that I'm creating. That's what this whole thing is for, not just to teach you some cool stuff. There are other breathing techniques that we'll cover in future live streams, but ultimately just this breathing low and slow and expanding as much as possible is to get you to the Taoist one breath. So essentially, you want it to be so slow and relaxed and expansive and deep that there is no separation between the in-breath and the out-breath. Should be that gentle. The metaphor that the Taoists use is a breath like silk. So very good. Very difficult for a lot of people to achieve at first. So no worries about that. Okay, so for the next one, we're going to put our hands together like this. What's called in Japanese, at least, gassho meditation. And we want to focus on the hands. You can either focus on the center of the palms while they're pressed together and sort of creating heat. You don't have to use your eyes, but you can simply gaze down. You can focus on the tip of the forefinger because that's going to be most visible. You could focus on the thumb. It's sort of whatever feels right to you, but what you're doing is you're connecting that with the gaze, or at least with your consciousness, and your hands, your fingers, and of course by putting them together physically, they're gaining energy so that you're sort of sensitizing them, you're energizing them. And then we're going to do the process of removing the mask. Removing the mask is another Toltec practice that was taught to me by Coyote the Blind, and people have a very strong reaction to it. It's typically done in order to, the sort of spiritual metaphor behind it is removing these layers of our masks, our false selves, false tensions that we carry in the body, in the face. The physical effect or energetic effect that it has eventually is not just relaxing the face, but if you relax the face, you relax the entire body. So all of this stuff that we're doing is essentially preparatory work. I just want to make that clear. We're focusing here for a bit. Using the same breath focusing our power, focusing our awareness, letting everything else fall away. If you're a skilled meditator for things like this, then the point is access concentration. At least that's what it's called in the Buddhist canon, or the English translation of the Buddhist stuff, which is that you are so focused that you literally connect with the object of your focus, that you are conscious with it. Now, for removing the mask, once we're doing that, you can do it very intentionally, very purposefully if you want to, and part the fingers, sort of looking at them, thinking of your hands as powerful and bright, and you slowly move them up towards the top of the skull, or at least towards the top of the forehead. If you have long hair, I understand that. And you only want to barely touch your skin. You want it to feel like it's just a spider web just kind of brushing against your skin. And what we're going to do is we're just going to move them down as absolutely slowly as possible. As you do this, the energy that you've built up in your hands relaxes everything in your face. You want to let everything go. It's okay if your mouth hangs open. I cannot see you. And then slowly move your hands down, again pointing towards the ground. And just let that sink down into the cave once more. Take a breath and do it again. I'm going to put on another image, repeat the music, and let you continue doing that exercise. Then I'm going to take you back into the dreamer's gaze, and I think we'll just finish with that today. I have to get over to the Zoom event that I hold, and yeah, this is how it's going to be in the cave of Xayun Waho. That is also my own magical language. I don't want anyone to think that it is connected with anything in particular. I'm such an Aquarius when I do this kind of stuff. It has to be all original from me, you know. So it has perfect significance for me, and it sounds cool. But I'm not claiming that this is any particular, language, or that it comes from any particular tradition. Again, it is my own personal amalgamation of Toltec and Taoist techniques and theory. So, okay. Continue to do the dreamers, continue to do the removing the mask exercise, and then we're going to move into the dreamer's gaze, which is, again, you're expanding your periphery. And as you're breathing in, I just want you to imagine that all of that energy in your expanded awareness is coming into, again, your belly. And then we're going to finish by just going like this, very slowly, if you have the space for it, pulling and reeling in all of that energy from around you down to the belly, where it the hands cross, and you just sink the attention on the belly. Out again, down as low as you can, all around, up as high as you can, and sinking it down. This is again a Taoist thing, like from Qigong or Neidan or whatever. So once you've done this, you've expanded the awareness, you've expanded your sight, you've come into the cave, you've had this extra boost of energy and power. Certain things will get dislodged. When you're doing this, you just want to gather up the dynamic and healed energy and put it back into your center, into your core. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So continue with the removing the mask exercise just a couple times as you focus on, well, you don't have to focus on the image yet. Do that a couple times, and then we'll move into the closing down phase. So dreamer's gaze, expand your awareness, and then to close down, we'll be doing the closing. I'm going to be sending you extra energy for this part. That's all I'm going to focus on, so I'll be pretty quiet. You can also just think of letting go and shedding that skin. Okay, now you can start doing the dreamer's gaze. If you need to, you can wiggle your fingers out to the sides as you move them out to the sides very slowly to just notice your periphery. It helps to expand your visual range. And once you've finished that, then you bring them back in, wiggle them very lightly again, and move them very slowly out towards the sides. Again, trying to expand your sense of vision so that it is all encompassing. You're not focusing on any one thing. When you do this, though, you should have your head very level, you should have a good posture. You should be essentially staring straight forward, but again, not focusing on what's in front of you, allowing your focus to expand and expand and expand. And just continue to breathe in through the belly, breathe low and slow. Remember to be present. Just remind yourself you're intending to be in this healing cave with me. Don't forget to move your hands down towards the earth after you've removed the mask once. And just breathe into the cave. Let everything go. You can also use the sitting and forgetting intention exercise to just... And now let's start shutting down, closing down. Shutting down doesn't sound good. So down from the bottom, and we're scooping up energy and from below us, from around us, from above us, and just sinking it down into the belly, into the solar plexus. Breathing into that space where our hands cross. For this too, if you want to, you can keep your eyes closed, or you can focus on the image in front of you. This is always how we close down in Taoist practice, is focusing on the lower Dantian. We start that way as well. So again, this is basically what I'm doing, is sort of the soft version of focusing on the lower Dantian. Instead of having to do that and really learning how to move your consciousness around, which comes eventually and is a very necessary part of all of these exercises, all we're doing is breathing low and slow. And by breathing low, you're constantly reminding yourself to expand that region, and so your energy, your consciousness, your mind is sinking into the region of the lower Dantian. It doesn't have to be, highfalutin. It's just your physical center of power, all right? After you've scooped up the energy a couple good times, slowly sinking it back into the center, and breathing there 1 or 2 times before you do it again. Then you can keep your hands in that position, or you can put them into the diamond mudra, which is just sort of the left hand on top of the right, palms up, tips of the thumbs touching, like a little Buddha. Everybody knows that one. Or you can just keep them crossed in front of your belly. Always close down for several minutes. Even if you don't do a lot of the other practices in between, it's most important to start and end with the same closing or the same opening and closing exercise, you'll get more just from doing that and concentrating your energy into the center of your belly than you will from pretty much anything else. There are even some old Taoist texts that say things like, uh, you know, creating the golden elixir is simple. All you have to do is connect. Well, that's how we close down. And that's going to be it. So I do have to go to my next event. I hope that this did work. I know that I've been getting error messages and things, so I think the streaming, I might have to turn down the streaming quality, the video quality, but, you know, the first one I had, so